Hare Krishna and welcome to the Bhagavad-gita lecture. So today we're going to give the lecture on the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, and it's verse number 3. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So let's see here. First of all, I would like to read the summary of verses 3 and 4 from the study guide. It says in verses 3 to 4, there are brief answers to the first 6 questions of this chapter. What is Brahman? The indestructible living entity, who is originally part and parcel of God, is called Brahman. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport to verse number 3, Brahman is indestructible and eternally existing, and its constitution is not changed at any time. But beyond Brahman, there is Para-Brahman. Brahman refers to the living entity, and Para-Brahman refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport Bhagavad-gita to Bhagavad-gita 7.29, Aham Brahmasmi, I am spirit. It is said that one should understand that he is Brahman, spirit soul. This Brahman conception of life is also in devotional service, as described in this verse. The pure devotees are transcendentally situated on the Brahman platform, and they know everything about transcendental activities. Only persons who perform activities in Krishna consciousness are actually entitled to be called Brahman, because they are actually endeavoring to reach the Krishna planet. Such persons have no misgivings about Krishna, and thus they are factually Brahman. So that was the first answer to what is Brahman. So there's like a difference between Brahman, the living entity, and then the para-Brahman, yeah, Lord Krishna himself, the absolute truth, which can be Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And then comes another question: what is the self? Well, before that, I would like to say that. Let me see here. Yeah, so those who can be called amongst the living entities, which can be called Brahman, are actually the self-realized devotees of Lord Krishna, because they are endeavoring to reach Krishna planet. They may not be like 100% self-realized, but some kind of understanding that the highest goal in life and the highest interest in life is actually to go back home, back to Godhead, to reunite with, the source, our own source, our origin, which is Lord Krishna. To reunite and to repair that, how do you say, the relationship which is, which has been broken between the living entity since time immemorial with its own source, Lord Krishna. So when one has that understanding, then one starts to endeavor to go back to Godhead. So just having that understanding means actually some kind of self-realization must be there, that one is endeavoring to get out of the material world and go back to where one belongs, back home, back to Godhead. So those persons, those living entities, are called Brahman, according to Prabhupada's purport here to Bhagavad-gita 7.29. Prabhupada is saying such persons have no misgivings about Krishna, and thus they are factually Brahman. Welcome, Upasana. Nice that you could come.
Krishna Mataji. Yeah, I was looking for the link. Sorry,
Excuse me?
I was searching for this Zoom meeting link.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
okay. I found it. At the
Good.
previous meeting link the worked.
Yeah,
Thanks.
good you found it. Okay, good you're here. Yeah, so we are reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse number 3. And I'm just summarizing it now. When it comes to this, yeah, it's good to have it summarized because otherwise it's a little bit too much of a philosophy here. Yes, so I was explaining that by Arjuna's question, what is Brahman? So then I explained that, and now next question from Arjuna to Lord Krishna is what is the self? And Brahman's constitutional nature is called adhyātma, the self. The constitutional nature of the living entity is to serve Lord Krishna, the Lord. Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport, the constitutional position of the living entity is different from the position he takes in the material world. In material consciousness, his nature is to try to be the Lord of matter, but in spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness, his position is to serve the Supreme. In other words, there are two types of adhyātma. One is the absolute, unchanging nature of loving service to the Supreme Lord. And the other is the soul's material conditioning, which is always changing according to the samskaras stored in the subtle body. Samskaras means impressions. So we get certain impressions and they are stored in the mind. And this second type of adhyatma is called svabhava. Okay, and then yeah, so we have like two natures because we are the marginal energy of Lord Krishna. So we can either we choose to serve Maya or we choose to serve Krishna, but our constitutional position is to be a servant. That we can never stop that. So we serve our material body, material desires, material senses, material mind, intelligence, and so on. Or we serve Lord Krishna's desires and Lord Krishna's senses. So these are our two choices which we have. But either way, we are always a servant. So then the question is what makes us more happy? Serving ourselves and our self interest, or, I mean, material interest, or serving Lord Krishna, connecting with Him. So one should, ask that question because chapter 8 is about, all these existential questions. So one can ask oneself, okay, what shall I do? Shall I serve just only myself and, be an egoistic person and just care about myself? Or shall I expand my consciousness and my world and include the Supreme Lord and my relationship with Him? So those two, those two are called adhyatma, and and then here is one quote from Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana. He, Prabhupada, he was writing purports to the Bhagavad-gita, but then our previous acharyas in the same line have also written their purports. And here is one purport from one of the previous acharyas called Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana. And he commented like this to the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse number 3. I say that adhyatma refers to the svabhava. Svabhava is that substance which is intimately connected to the jiva, sva. It refers to the impressions held in the subtle elements which accompany the jiva, birth after birth. Because the impressions are closely related to the Atma, described as such in the Chandogya Upanishad, they are called Svabhava. So Sva means Jiva. The Svabhava is what I call Adhyatma. So they are like synonyms to one another. That which rules over Atma. That which rules over Atma. So that was Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana. So adhyātma, it's like it has to do with our nature, our deepest nature, and what we are supposed to do. You know, we have to be active all the time. We're trying to be active. We don't like to be idle. We need to do something. So it's interesting how activity is so closely connected to one's identity, and the identity is also closely connected to one's self-esteem. And also it brings a certain result, and then that result has to be used in some way. So it's like all these things are like, if one thing is generating from the other, or one thing is giving a result ending up in the other. So these are quite interesting and very deep subject matters. So that was from the study guide. So now I'm going to read the Bhagavad-gita, uh, chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme. That's the name of the chapter, and verse number 3. So let me share the screen here. So, Jai. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramang Svabhavodhyatmanuchate Bhuta Bhavod Bhavakaro Visarga Karma Sanjitaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called adhyātma, the self. Action pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entities is called karma, or fruitive activities. Purport. Brahman is indestructible and eternally existing, and its constitution is not changed at any time. But beyond Brahman, there is Parabrahman. Brahman refers to the living entity, and Parabrahman refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The constitutional position of the living entity is different from the position he takes in the material world. In material consciousness, his nature is to try to be the Lord of matter. But in spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness, his position is to serve the Supreme. When the living entity is in material consciousness, he has to take on various bodies in the material world. That is called karma, or varied creation by the force of material consciousness. In Vedic literature, the living entity is called Jivatma and Brahman, but he is never called Parabrahman. The living entity, Jivatma, takes different positions. Sometimes he merges into the dark material nature and identifies himself with matter, and sometimes he identifies himself with a superior spiritual nature. Therefore, he is called the Supreme Lord's marginal energy, according to his identification with material or spiritual nature. He receives a material or spiritual body. In material nature, he may take a body from any of the 8,400,000 species of life. But in spiritual nature, he has only one body. In material nature, he is manifested sometimes as a man, demigod, animal, beast, bird, etc., according to his karma. To attain material heavenly planets and enjoy their facilities, he sometimes performs sacrifices, yagya. But when his merit is exhausted, he returns to earth again in the form of a man. This process is called karma. The Chandogya Upanishad describes the Vedic sacrificial process. On the sacrificial altar, 5 kinds of offerings are made into 5 kinds of fire. The 5 kinds of fire are conceived of as the heavenly planets, clouds, the earth, man, and woman. And the 5 kinds of sacrificial offerings are faith, the enjoyer of the moon, rains, grains, and semen. In the process of sacrifice, the living entity makes specific sacrifices to attain specific heavenly planets and consequently reaches them. When the merit of sacrifice is exhausted, the living entity descends to earth in the form of rain, then takes on the form of grain, and the grains are eaten by man and transformed into semen, which impregnates a woman, and thus the living entity once again attains the human form to perform sacrifice, and so repeat the same cycle. In this way, the living entity perpetually comes and goes on the material path. The Krishna conscious person, however, avoids such sacrifices. He takes directly to Krishna consciousness and thereby prepares himself to return to Godhead. Impersonalist commentator on the Bhagavad-gita unreasonably assume that Brahman takes the form of jiva in the material world. And to substantiate this, they refer to chapter 15, verse 7 of the Bhagavad-gita. But in this verse, the Lord also speaks of the living entity as an eternal fragment of myself. The fragment of God, the living entity, may fall down into the material world, but the Supreme Lord Ashuta never falls down. Therefore, this assumption that the Supreme Brahman assumes the form of jiva is not acceptable. It is important to remember that in Vedic literature, Brahman, the living entity, is distinguished from Parabrahman, the Supreme Lord. Jai. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadigora Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So let's go through this translation and purport. So many really good points, very interesting knowledge has been given here by Srila Prabhupada. And it would be, I think if we would be speculating for millions of years, I don't think we would ever understand, come up with this understanding. Because this is descending knowledge, which means this understanding comes from Krishna himself in this Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. And, from Arjuna, it came to eventually through the Guru Parampara to us. And if anybody is looking for, substantial answers to their existential questions, so then the Bhagavad Gita is definitely the book to be read. Then there are other books also which are expanding on what Krishna is saying here in the Bhagavad Gita, and it's giving, more examples and expanding the different things, like the Srimad Bhagavatam, for instance, and then the Chaitanya Charitamrita expands on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then there is the Brihad Bhagavatamrita as well, Sri Ishopanishad, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, and there are many books. So, but the Bhagavad Gita is the basis. If we understand the Bhagavad Gita properly, we will have no troubles to understand. One second.